to the forum.
Fifth question.
And Leona, you've got the microphone, and I feel kind of silly with this microphone because my voice, I think, is loud enough. Here's the fifth question, Leona. If there was a decision made by the hospital board in an executive session, and you, as a board member, did not agree with the majority vote, what is your responsibility? Once again, if there was a decision made by the hospital board in an executive session, and you, as a board member, did not agree with the majority vote, what is your responsibility?
That's a tough one.
Do you need a clarification?
No,
Okay.
I understand the question. It's actually happened quite a few times here recently. 3-2 decisions that got to the point where the board member has resigned rather than appear to agree with the decisions that were made. It would naturally have to depend on the decision, how critical it was, whose lives it would affect, personnel it would affect. It would have to be a case by case.
Like Leona said, that's a difficult question because once that decision has been made, I don't believe if I didn't agree with it that I would be able to change it. It's a decision made by the board. I don't know any provision in the bylaws. I would need to read and look, but I don't know any provision in the bylaws to set that aside. If there were a way to do that, I would pursue it. But at this point, I don't know how to answer that any different than I have.
I think the only answer to that question is pull up your big boy pants and put up with it. You know, you're a minority. If you have a good board and everyone is looking out for the welfare of the hospital, the welfare of the community, we elect odd numbers to boards, and it doesn't matter if it's a 3-person board, 5, 7. You elect an odd number so you don't get into deadlocks. And if the majority feels like something's a good idea, you go with it. You don't have to agree with it. Everyone's going to have their opinions. But what you better do is put that behind you and start working on the next issue and not feel like you've been slighted or you know, people voted the other way because they don't like you. You know, you put it behind you and you take up the next issue and you keep doing what you feel is right. These meetings are designed to discuss issues before you vote. If you haven't adequately discussed it, then it's your fault for not bringing up your point and arguing your point. If you've argued your point and most of the board members don't agree with you, you hope that everyone has the best interests of the hospital at heart, and you go on and you deal with the next issue.
I generally agree with what Dr. Smith just said with one very important caveat. Under Montana law, we are a public body, we receive taxpayer dollars. There are only 2 things that we can legally do in executive session. We can handle employee matters in executive session. However, the employee has the right to demand that that be done in public. And if the employee makes that demand, then we must handle it in a public session. The second thing that we can do in executive session is litigation strategy. If we're involved in litigation, we've received advice from our attorney, and we're making a decision as to how we're going to handle that, we can do that in executive session because obviously we don't want the other side to know our strategy and talk about it. Those are the only things that we can do in executive session. And anything that happens in a legitimate executive session, whether I agree with it or not, I certainly will go along, as Dr. Smith sure it is done by law.
We've had quite a few executive sessions since I've been on the board, and it's been a majority vote in every decision made in every executive session that I have been part of since last summer. And to my knowledge, I don't know anybody that resigned because they did not agree with what happened in the executive session. Again, executive session, you've got the right to state your point, and if you disagree, you certainly have the right to argue your point and let everyone else on the board know that you don't agree with the majority of it. That's absolutely appropriate, and certainly you're free to do that. But I think it's a majority vote, and I don't think you can do anything about a decision made in an executive session that you don't agree with, but the majority vote went the other way. As far as every executive session we've had, it's been a majority vote.
I don't think I can add very much to what Dr. Smith, John, or Carol said, because that's exactly as I feel.
Wow. Thank you so much. You're gonna like this one, Gar, and I'm sure the rest of you will. Here's the question I want to first. If elected, can you attend a monthly meeting?
Yeah.
Presently, it is on the fourth Tuesday at noon.
Thursday.
Ooh, excuse me, Thursday, okay, so there was an error here. Thursday, the fourth Thursday at noon. Yes or no answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm just gonna say no problem.
Yes. You betcha. Yes.
Yes, okay. Great, all right. Okay, this question, I tweaked it a little bit, and I hope that when I read it, it satisfies the community member who wrote the original question, and that it does contain the essence of the question that you wrote, but I needed to shorten it. Also, there is an ambiguity in it that I want to point out. If the community member wishes to clarify it, feel free to do so. If not, the candidates will address it to the best of their ability. Okay? The question is, it appears the grant, don't know what the grant is, given to the hospital requires a separate board. If so, that would mean separate board members and officers. How would you address this issue? First of all, was that clear to you? The question, okay. It doesn't specify the grant, it just says it's the grant. One more time, excuse me.
I wrote that question, and that's not what I wrote.
Then I will read it exactly as you wrote it then. I understand that the grant given to the hospital requires a separate board. If so,
It should say clinic.
excuse me, I know it says separate board. I understand that the grant given to the hospital requires a separate board.
I have a copy of what I wrote.
Oh,
feel strongly the same way. The grant given to the clinic was very specific in that they had to form their own board of directors, which they did. They have 11 members on their board. And as I said before, there are people, I believe, one running for election and one who's already on both boards. And I don't think that's meets the grant conditions and should probably be looked into legally wise. Thank you.
This is a question that I did address. I went to one of our commissioners to find out the legality. Also tried to speak with our county attorney. I didn't get any information back from either sources, so I can't say is it legal or not legal to have members be on both the hospital board and the clinic board. I will address this if I'm put in a position to do so and try to get that clarified legally. The members of the board probably know the legalities, and so there's where I stand. I have to have more information. I will pursue that.
Well, I think a lot of it would depend on if there's any stipulations in the grant itself from whatever entity presented that grant. But I can tell you, very common practice to put board members on committees and say even this additional board, because you're all working for the same purpose. You're working for the good of the hospital, you're working for the good of the patients. It's really helpful if you have, especially something complex, the hospital board members, if you have one, or when you have 11 members, maybe even 2 hospital board members if it's allowed, because those members can get right back to the hospital board, they communicate with the administrator. These are people who are going to make that grant work. You want the people there that are going to make this grant work, and who better than the people who know what's going on. But it is very common practice to take board members, put them on committees, as long as there's nothing that's saying you can't do it. So, I don't see that as being unusual, and in most instances, it is very helpful and it's very productive to do that.
Stole a lot of what I was going to say again. Dr. Smith is absolutely right. Overlaps between boards are very, very common, and it's often helpful. In small communities where there are a limited number of people, one, willing to volunteer, and two, with particular expertise that helps, it's even more common. That said, the first step is you look at the language of the grant itself. Does it simply say it has to have its own board? Does it say it has to have a board and no more than 3 members can also be a member of this other entity? If there's a specific prohibition in there, obviously you have to go with that language. If it's kind of vague and you think, well, I'm not sure what they're saying, first step is go back to the entity that gave the grant, talk to them and say, okay, do you see any problem with this overlap? Shouldn't be hard to get the answer, but if there's no specific prohibition, I also don't think it's at all uncommon and I'm not troubled by it.
I know there was quite a discussion about having the separate boards for this grant be awarded. But we have a joint meeting because it's all the same issues. It's all the same concerns and trying to do the best for the community. And they've already started working on 2014 to make it legal to have us all together and not even have 2 meetings. But all the hospital board people start out at the health center board meeting. That's why I'm there for 5 hours. Because at noon, the health board meeting starts, and us hospital board people sit through that health board meeting, and then they adjourn, and then we have 4.5 to 5 to 5.5 hours for the last 3 or 4 months. But they've been very careful about abiding by the rules of that grant. And I can't, quote chapter and verse, but they've been very careful about making sure that they have abided by the rules of that grant. So I don't think it's a concern.
Well, this kind of puts me on the spot because I really don't know what has transpired in the past on the grant for the clinic. But I certainly think that John's advice to seek counsel is probably the best advice that we give. Although I do know that in many cases where you have small communities, you have multiple people on multiple boards, just because there's not enough people to volunteer or take really active participation, that's what's on.
Thank you very much, and thanks also to the community member for clarifying. My apologies to you for not tweaking it and keeping the essence of what you wanted to say. So, thank you again. Okay, we have 2 more questions, and they're somewhat redundant in that you answered them in the beginning to some extent, or actually to a great extent. But I think it's a good way of, again, making sure that all the questions that the audience has have been answered, and it gives you the opportunity to expound or add more information to what you've already provided to your audience. So, what is your present job, and how long have you been there?
I'm an international mining consultant. I formed my consultancy in 1991. I practiced from 91 to 2006 in Denver, and then we moved back to Superior in 2006. And I've continued to work in that capacity since. So I'm self-employed, and I've had jobs all over the world and given advice to a number of large mining companies.
In June, I will have been retired 5 years from First American Title, 35-year career, and like I said last night, I have a non-paying job. It's called Grandma.
I'm the presently employed by the town of Superior as the chief of the Superior Volunteer Fire Department. I've been there just 2 months short of 7 years. I was tempted to claim I'm also a goat farmer, but my wife would disagree because she does most of the work as far as the goats are concerned. Prior to that time, I ran my own law firm straight out of school and ran it for 23 years before selling out to my partners and retiring.
I employed as a physician practicing internal medicine and emergency medicine and do hospitalist care at Buckrock Valley Hospital. I've been there for 7 years. Prior to that, I was in this community for 13 years. Worked for the hospital for 9 years and was in my own practice for 5 years. And I know that works out to more than 20 for those of you who are adding it. That's because for 1 year, I had a full-time practice here in Superior and worked at Buckrock Valley Hospital. And then Sanity came in and had to give one up. And federal regulations, to have your own business in medicine, to run your own clinic as a private entity is not much fun. And it's not much fun for the hospital and clinic here either. There are tons of regulations, there are stipulations. Medicare is now requiring everyone to have electronic medical records. It's a huge expense. It slows down your providers. They now have to do all the records either as they see the patients, which is what's feasible, or to do them all at the end of the day, which is just absolute craziness. So I elected to be employed rather than struggle with regulations and expenses Yeah, I kind of editorialized that one, didn't I? I love this country, though.
At the present time, I'm serving as a volunteer at the elementary school as a foster grandparent. I really enjoy it. I work with the kindergarten and I work with the sixth graders, so I get a real cross-section. I'm very pleased with what I see the teachers doing. It's exciting to watch them. I retired in 1994 from a courier service that my husband and I had together. And so now we're retired people, and we have time to volunteer and do things, and that's what I'm doing.
I worked for almost 40 years as an over-the-road truck driver, drove by myself. When my feet went bad on me, I retired and started looking around for something to do here in the community. And I opened up This and That, my consignment shop, in March of 2 years ago. And enjoy it, enjoy meeting the people, listening to the people, visiting. Thank you.
Great, thank you so very much. Final question, and please address it as it would be the crux of this whole candidates forum. What qualifies you one more time to be on board?
Well, like my esteemed colleagues here, I don't have all the college degrees and papers behind my name, letters behind my name. I'm a high school graduate. I worked hard to get my diploma and I'm proud of it. I've worked all of my life in one job or another, raised 4 children. I think that I can listen, that I can help. I think that I can provide the transparency that this board needs. And thank you.
If you don't mind, I'd like to read what I put in my resume. Kind of sums it up. I feel with my business background and interaction with the public, I'm able to negotiate with people with a steady disposition. I'm not easily flustered. I'm willing to look at both sides of an issue, but looking for what serves the best possible good. Also, I am not satisfied until I understand the issues. I especially want to be open so others will have no doubt of my honesty and sincerity.
As I mentioned before, I have about 7 years' experience on the hospital board and have experience running my own business successfully. I know the pitfalls of providing medical care. I know the pitfalls of the business side of it. A lot of rules and regulations. You hire the people who are good at dealing with those things, and then you oversee them doing that. I think I'm
skills to the board. I think I've proven to the community with what I've done with the fire department that I'm somebody who does get things done. I ran my own business for a number of years and was successful in a position where I was the boss. I successfully made the transition where between the town council and the rural board, I had 14 bosses. I was successful in running my own business where I had a number of employees who received paychecks from me every week. And I successfully made the transition to running a volunteer fire department where people can go home anytime they want. So I think I've shown a broad range of skills and abilities to deal with people. My job as a practicing attorney involved negotiating, settling, and when I couldn't accomplish that, then pushing the issue. And I promise when, as a board member, I think things are right, I'll be part of the team, and if I think things are not going right, I'll push real hard to make them right. I'm a member of the community, expect to be a member of the community for a long time, and think the hospital is very important, support it, and want to make it the best possible medical facility for this community.
The only thing I have that's a little bit unique to everyone else is that I've lived here for 43 years. And so I know almost everyone in this room, and because of my experience at First American, managing the office for 30 years, we had to make budgets and abide by our budgets, and they were audited, and there were about 25 or 30 offices, I think, that were under the same ownership at that time. And there was a lot of nasty remarks made to me when my budget came in within $100 for the whole year. Yeah, they gave me $100. They gave me $100 as a bonus for my budget coming in. But I understand the budget process. I understand how the numbers work. I've been a boss. I've had employees. I've had to negotiate with people over their HUD insurance issues and the other boards I've been on. And even serving on this board for the months that I have, I've learned a lot. And I wouldn't even run for this position, except I'm so excited about what's happening here and so excited about the technology that's coming here that I really do want to be a part of it because it's really an exciting time. Sorry, Gordon.
Not having much luck, are you? Well, I think what qualifies me to be on the board is I've worked in situations where we've had, the companies I've worked for, I've managed multi-million-dollar properties and projects. I've been the boss of numerous people and reported to senior management and have been senior management, reported to boards. I understand how the process works very well. I also listen well, and one of the things I pride myself on is building consensus. And part of that consensus building is taking and looking at every viewpoint and then trying to figure out what really makes sense and what doesn't. One of the reasons I want to see the hospital become a good success is Maggie and I are going to be here for the rest of our lives, and we'd like to have good care ourselves. And I think that there's an opportunity here that's been developed in the last several years to really make this a showcase of how rural hospitals should be done. Thank you.
30 seconds. All right, 30 seconds. On behalf of the community members of Monroe County, I want to say a heartfelt thank you to this superb panel of candidates. I just thoroughly impressed with all of you. On behalf of the candidates, I so very much. This gentleman has an announcement to make.
There's gonna be one more forum, and that's gonna be in Elberton, and I don't remember where, it's gonna be at the high school.
No, Alberton Senior Citizen Center at 7 o'clock on Friday. That's how it all works, so we have to turn right.
And I have a stop sign. Thank you guys for clearing your soul.
Good job, George.